Our conditioning session today is all about ankle mobility. Why is it important and how we can improve it as well. So our ankle mobility could be affected by a couple of things if you think that you have got poor ankle mobility. A couple of those things could be wearing heels all the time, because obviously it sends your foot like this rather than flat on the ground like this. And the other thing could be anterior pelvic tilt. So when you're sticking your bum out, the center of gravity is coming forward. So they could be a couple of reasons, along with a huge other range. But what we're going to really look into is how we can improve it, whatever the reason is that you need to and that you see that you are inflexible in the ankles. So dorsiflexion is the thing that we're going to be really focusing on. That is when you're pulling the ball of the foot backwards. So the toes are coming back. It's very important to remember that it's not just the toes that are pulling back. The whole of the foot is pulling back. That's your dorsiflexion. Plantar flexion is when you're pointing your toes almost away from you. But we're going to be focusing mainly on this dorsiflexion because that is what helps us with all of our movements. Think about squats, think about going up the stairs, all of those different things. So you're going to need to grab a tennis ball. If you don't have a tennis ball, a dog toy, which this happens to be an old tennis ball that has now been ripped apart. Or even like a ball of socks as well. It's just going to be so it elevates our foot in one of our exercises. So our big toe is really important as well. I talk about this all the time in our classes. Ground through all four corners of the feet, especially that big toe. It's there for our balance. It propels us to move forward. So we really don't want to be relying on the outside edges of our feet. We want to be thinking about going through the whole of that foot nice and evenly. Okay, so let's have a quick test to start with. Let's see how you get on. See how you are with your ankle mobility. Come towards a wall. I'm going to pretend that this is my wall so you can see. Come up to kneeling as if you were going to be doing a low lunge or something on your knees basically. And have the front foot about 5 inches away from the wall with that knee directly over the heel. So once you've about got that 5 inches, start to take the weight forward. Can you touch the knee to the wall? If you can, if it's about 4 or 5 inches away, that shows that you've got really great ankle mobility. It's perfectly efficient for the moves that we need to do in our daily lives. And if you do weightlifting, squatting, yoga, that's going to be so beneficial. You're not going to be compensating in the other areas of your body because your knees really take over when our ankles aren't mobile. The knees, as you can imagine, connect to the hips. The hips connect to the back. It all just completely puts you out of whack. So it's really important to work on this ankle mobility. So test it a couple of times. It might be that you just need to warm up. If that heel starts to come off of the ground, you're cheating. So keep that heel down and keep driving that knee forward. Test it on the other side as well. Maybe you want to go a bit closer to start with. And as you start to feel a little bit warmer, keep taking that knee forward. Notice if one is maybe easier than the other. And if that's something that you can relate to your daily life as well, if you can understand that one side's easier than the other for reverse lunges, or if you go to the gym, stuff like that. Okay, how do we actually improve it though? Let's get started. We're going to start just by standing up and just starting to take the brain down to the feet. So stand in your mountain pose, feet hips width distance apart. And all we're going to do is spread our toes. So lift the toes up, spread them as much as you can and place them back down. Lift up the toes, spread them out, place them down. Notice what's going on here. See if this is really difficult for you, if it feels like a bit of a brain teaser in your mind. Keep going. A couple more. I have to look at my toes when I do this. I don't know why. I think it's just that real visualization of what I'm doing. Okay, do one more. Hold them down. Try not to scrunch them up, but just spread them nice and widely. Okay, 3, 2, and 1. Wiggle those toes. Coming all the way down to the ground into my favourite stretch of all time, the planter's stretch, or I read the other day, screaming toes. No, happy toes, we're going to say, happy feet. So tuck your toes under, take the weight back, separate the toes if they start to crunch under, because unfortunately that is what happens with our shoes now. They're basically putting the feet in a cast so that they can't move as much as they should. So it's just something that we have kind of developed to have these feet that go like this rather than like this. If this is really uncomfortable on your knees, place a cushion or a rolled up towel underneath the knees to take that angle so it's not so extreme. The other thing that you could do is come back to your wall and push your toes against the wall. So whatever feels comfortable for you. If you're against the wall, do one foot and then switch to the other foot. Okay, sink all the way down. Place the hands onto the thighs. Whether you're closing your eyes, if you want to take some really deep breaths, that could help you just settle in here. And if this is really painful for you, just this exercise alone is going to be a really key indication that this is something that you should be doing every day. Feel that breath expanding through the belly. And back out through the nose, belly going down. 10 more deep breaths here. Don't be tempted to cheat. Seven counts for me. 3 more. Okay, coming to the end of my final breath. Come all the way forward really slowly. Give those toes a wiggle. Good job. Okay. Coming all the way back up to standing now. All the way up, grabbing that tennis ball or that disgusting dog toy. Okay, placing one big toe onto this tennis ball. Just having the feet just about hips width distance apart. And then you're going to push down on the tennis ball with that big toe. Hold it for 30 seconds and release. Keep pushing. Okay, switching over to the other side. When you're ready, push down with that big toe. Switching over to the other side for a count of 20. When you're ready, go for it. Okay, other side for 20. So this big toe, bringing the big toe strength, working on this strength is going to help us with most of our movements, to be honest. Okay, 10 the other side and then 10 the final side and we're done. Okay, I'm switching over to the other side. And then we'll all stay standing once you're done. Get rid of that tennis ball or those socks. Good job. Just notice if you're starting to feel any kind of cramp or anything through those toes, feel free to have your feet, give them a bit of a wobble. Okay, coming into another standing stretch. So we're going to have your feet less than you would want to stand apart, so quite a narrow stance, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, still on these train tracks, so hips width distance apart. Bending through the left knee or the right knee if you want. And just straightening up through the back leg, taking the weight forward. So you're feeling this stretch through the front ankle. And then bend that back knee as well. So then you're stretching both. Keep bending down. Straightening up through that back leg, leaning forward a bit more. Bending through that back leg. Taking the weight a bit more evenly. Straightening that back leg, weight slightly forward. Bending the back leg, weight coming back into center. One more time, forward and back. Okay, switching over to the other side, so that narrow stance, bending through the front leg, straightening the back leg, and then bending the back leg, weight coming central. Forward and back. Keep going. Just notice how all of these tendons and bones in your feet are just kind of firing and flickering. Got the most amount of bones in our feet, so there's a lot that we need to work on. Okay, one more time, forward and back. Good job. Okay, taking both feet together now, we're going to come to our tippy toes. Whether you want your feet together or hips width distance, whatever feels more balanced for you. Now when we come onto our tippy toes, don't be tempted to sickle your ankles, to let your ankles kind of go out to the side. We want them to be straight up, so feet, ankles, knees, hips, everything in line. Take your hands out in front of you or up or in prayer, whatever gives you that sense of balance. Okay, tippy toes. Feel all of those toes grounding. Feel that energy driving up through the shins. And back down, do this 10 times up. Make sure the ankles aren't kind of dropping out to the side. You've got all of that energy pulling up through the knees. Okay. 9. 8. 7. I don't know why I'm acting like I'm holding a netball or something. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. On this one, stay up if you can, if not have a bit of a shake and then come back into it. You might want your hands out in front. We're going to come all the way down, bending through the knees. See if you can take the bum to the heels, keeping the big toe grounded. Don't be tempted to start to come onto the outside. And then all the way up. All the way down. And all the way up. Okay, one more time. All the way down. We're going to stay down this time. Completely relax. Just come to kneeling. Just let those feet just have a bit of a rest. Those ankles have a rest. Even like this, just in a kneeling position here, this is going to help stretch it out in the opposite direction to that plantar stretch. Okay, we're going to come into our malasana now. So this is going to kind of be almost like your crescendo, having a look to see your external rotation of the hips and the ankle mobility as well in that dorsiflexion. One thing I haven't mentioned is dorsiflexion, for coming backwards, activates the shins, all of the muscles in the shins, helps to activate the quads, and the quads allow the hamstrings to lengthen. So I would have mentioned it in my classes before, make sure that when you're in standing forward fold, that you don't have the weight tipping backwards, because you're not then in this angle with your foot, you're taking the knee further behind. So then you're not actually really benefiting your body because you're not stretching out those hamstrings. So it's better to bend your knees and keep the heels and hips in line rather than taking the hips behind the heels. Okay, coming into our malasana squat, if you know that you need to roll up your mat and place it underneath your heels or sit on a block, that's absolutely fine. Even if you're sitting on a block, I want you to think about the heels driving down to the mat, the outside edges driving to the mat, and the big toes. So really sense of grounding here. Hands at heart center, drawing the elbows into the knees and keeping nice and open here. Just notice if all of the tendons are firing in your feet, and you can feel that like the line, which is the tendon coming through your ankle down that foot, if it's engaged and on. And try to see if you can bring a sense of relaxation. As soon as you start thinking about it, more than likely it will engage, but just try to just remove yourself from it and relax here. Okay, we're going to hold this for 30 seconds and then we are done. Maybe you close down the eyes. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All the way out. Okay, really, really good job. Whether you're going on to a quite intensive class where you know that you're going to be doing a lot of balancing, so you're working on your ankle mobility, or that was the perfect amount for you to get on with your day. I really hope that it's helped. And remember to always check into this strength and conditioning section so that you can be working with your body the best that it can, and you're going to help yourself move better with yoga.